Hello dear students, welcome to the lecture on Major Divisions of Life, Domains and Kingdoms. Before we begin our lecture, let's have a quick look on the objectives of this lecture. Our objectives include to classify organisms into domains and kingdoms, to classify organisms under 2-kingdom classification system, to classify organisms under 5-kingdom classification system, to learn about the general characters of all groups, and to learn about the advantages and disadvantages of various classification systems. Now, let us discuss these in detail. Dear students, in science, we are always in need of categorizing what we are studying, as it makes it easier to look up information and draw comparisons and relationships between things if they are categorized and organized properly. Biological taxonomy is the hierarchical breakdown to categorize living things. Aristotle was the earliest to attempt a scientific basis for classification of living organisms. He used simple morphological characters to classify plants into trees, shrubs and herbs. He also divided animals into 2 groups, those which had red blood and those that did not. In Linnaeus' time, a 2-kingdom system of classification with Plantae and Animalia kingdoms was developed that included all plants and animals respectively. This was based on following points which could differentiate plants and animals. Number 1, plants feed on inorganic matter, whereas animals feed on complex organic compounds. Plants carry on photosynthesis and possess chlorophyll, whereas in animals there is no photosynthesis and no chlorophyll. Plants are fixed, whereas animals can move. Plants possess branching body, however the animals possess compact body. Plants are less sensitive and respond slowly, whereas animals are highly sensitive and respond quickly. The plant cell wall contains cellulose and the reserve food is starch. In animals, there is no cell wall and reserve food is glycogen. So based on these differences, the plants like trees, shrubs, herbs, mosses, ferns, etc. are easily identified. However, in many respects, the 2-kingdom classification appears inadequate and hence 5-kingdom classification came into existence. Now, let us discuss the 5-kingdom classification method in detail. The 5-kingdom classification system was proposed by Whittaker in 1969. In this arrangement, the separation into 5 kingdoms is based on the following criteria: the kind of the cells that make up the organism, the number of cells that make up the organism, the method by which the organism obtains its food, including photosynthesis, absorption and ingestion, thallus organization, and lastly the mode of reproduction. In the 5-kingdom arrangement, the subdivisions of the old kingdom classification are not altered. Instead, they are redistributed among additional kingdoms. The 5 kingdoms are Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. Now let us discuss these in detail. First, the kingdom Monera. Monera kingdom includes all the prokaryotes. They are the simplest and most widespread group of organisms on earth. The general characters are, they are the smallest organisms, microscopic, measuring from 1 to a few micrometers in length. They are prokaryotes, the cell is not compartmentalized within. Sap vacuoles are absent and hence there is limited amount of moisture in the cell. The cell is therefore highly resistant to unfavorable conditions. The cell lacks cytoplasmic streaming movements called cyclosis. They are either heterotrophic or autotrophic. Some monerans can fix atmospheric nitrogen and form useful nitrogen compounds and thus adding fertility to the soil. Some monerans live under extremes of environmental conditions like absence of oxygen, high salt concentration or high temperature, that is up to 80 degrees Celsius, or acidic pH. These are the earliest forms of life and are called archaebacteria. Some monerans bear a cell wall composed of murine. Reproduction is asexual by fission or budding. Protosexual phenomenon may occur in certain cases, for example, genetic recombination in bacteria. It includes bacteria, actinomycetes, mycoplasmas, archaebacteria and cyanobacteria. Now the kingdom Protista. They are complicated than monerans. They are unicellular but eukaryotic, that is with true nucleus. Physiologically, the unicell is equal to the whole body of a plant or an animal. Their general characters are, they are solitary unicellular or colonial unicellular eukaryotic organisms which do not form tissues. Simple multinucleate organisms are also found in the kingdom. The organisms possess nuclear membrane and other membrane-bound organelles like mitochondria, Golgi complex, etc. In many forms, plastids and flagella are present. Flagella show 9+2 pattern of microtubule arrangement. The nutritive modes of these organisms include photosynthesis, absorption, ingestion and combination of these. The reproduction is mainly asexual. Some forms show true sexual act including fertilization and meiosis. The organisms may be motile or non-motile. The locomotory organelles include cilia, flagella, pseudopodia, etc. Protists show remarkable variation in cell organization, patterns of cell division and life cycles. The group appears to be unnatural because of heterogeneous assemblage. Now the classification of Protista. The major groups of protists are chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime molds, sporozoans and protozoan protists. The protozoan protists are further classified into zooflagellates, sarcodines and ciliates on the basis of locomotory organs. Moving on to the next kingdom, that is kingdom Fungi. The kingdom Fungi includes diverse kinds of eukaryotes, predominantly multicellular heterotrophic organisms. The general characters are, fungi are cosmopolitan and occur in air, water and soil and also on animals and plants. They are saprotrophic or parasitic, hence heterotrophic as they lack chlorophyll. The fungal body is composed of interwoven mass of threads called hyphae. The whole body is called mycelium. Cell wall of fungi is composed of chitin and other polysaccharides. Chitin is a polymer of amino sugar acetyl glucosamine. Yeast are a group of exceptional fungi involved in fermentation. They have a single-celled body. Fungi prefer warm and humid places. Fungi are non-motile but show protoplasmic movements in mycelium. There is a limited or no differentiation of somatic tissue. Some have cenocytic hyphae while others possess septa in hyphae. Both sexual and asexual methods of reproduction are present. There is degeneration of sex also. Some fungi show symbiotic association with algae or cyanobacteria forming lichens. Some other fungi show symbiotic association with the roots of higher plants forming mycorrhiza. Now the classification of fungi. The major classes of the kingdom fungi are phycomycetes, ascomycetes, basidiomycetes and deuteriomycetes. The next kingdom is the kingdom Animalia. The animal kingdom exceeds all other kingdoms in diversity. They are multicellular and are also called metazoan. The general characters are, they are multicellular holozoic eukaryotes. They obtain food from outside sources and more from place to place with few exceptions. They swallow the food and digest it inside the body. Ecologically, animals are consumers. They form links in different food chains and complex food webs through which a part of matter and energy flows from the producers to the decomposers. The mobility is made possible by the development of cells with ability to contract or transmit impulses. Some animal groups have become parasitic. They live on or within the tissues of other metazoans. They lack stiff cell wall, they are devoid of plastids and photosynthetic pigments. Level of organization and tissue differentiation in higher forms is far exceeding that of other kingdoms. Haploid age occurs in the form of gametes and rest of the structure is diploid. Now the classification of Animalia. There are two major groups of animals, non-chordates and chordates, depending upon the absence or presence of a supporting tissue called notochord. Non-chordates are characterized by the absence of notochord. Non-chordates include a number of phyla. These are Porifera, Cnidaria, Ctenophora, Platyhelminthes, Helminthes, Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca and Echinodermata. Now let us see these one by one. Porifera, that is sponges. Phylum Porifera includes about 5,000 species. Most of them are marine and attached to rocks. Its classes are Calcarea, Hexactinellida and Desmospongi. Next, Cnidaria or Coelenterata. The phylum Cnidaria includes about 9,000 species, mainly marine. They are first animals with organization of tissues. Its classes are Hydrozoa, Scyphozoa and Anthozoa. Next is the phylum Ctenophora. These are called comb jellies or sea gooseberries or sea walnuts. They are exclusively marine, pelagic or free, solitary and biradially symmetrical organisms. Bioluminescence is well marked in ctenophores. The classes are Tentaculata and Nuda. The next phylum is Platyhelminthes or the flatworms. The flatworms include about 13,000 species. The body is dorsoventrally flattened and bilaterally symmetrical and unsegmented. The classes are Turbellaria, Trematoda and Cystoda. The next phylum is Nemathelminthes or roundworms. The Nemathelminthes or Helminthes include about 15,000 species. These are found in fresh and salt water. They are also parasites in animals and plants. Vast quantities of microscopic free-living nematodes also thrive in soil rich in organic matter. Now the next phylum, that is phylum Annelida. Nearly 9,000 species of Annelida are known today. They exhibit diverse forms ranging from 1 mm in length up to 2.5 meters in length. They are mostly aquatic, marine or freshwater, burrowing or living in a tube. Some are terrestrial free-living. Body is elongated, bilaterally symmetrical and triploblastic. The body is also metamerically segmented. Classes are Polychaeta, Oligochaeta, Hydrodinia and Archaeannelida. Next is phylum Mollusca. The phylum includes over 60,000 species. It is the second largest animal phylum after the arthropods. The mollusk body is soft and unsegmented. They are aquatic, mostly marine, a few freshwater and some are terrestrial. The classes include Monoplacophora, Amphineura, Scaphopoda, Gastropoda, Plecheopoda and Cephalopoda. Now phylum Arthropoda. This is the largest group of animals, including about 900,000 species. More than 80% of all animals are placed in this phylum. They have jointed limbs with bilateral symmetry. They are triploblastic and coelomate. However, schizocoelomic coelom is much reduced and replaced by perivisceral hemocoel filled with blood. They have a segmented body and the segments are not separated by septa. Classes include Arachnida, Crustacea, Chilopoda, Diplopoda, Insecta and Myriapoda. Next phylum is Echinodermata. It includes about 6,000 species consisting of only marine, spiny-skinned, free-swimming, triploblastic animals. The adult animals usually show radial symmetry with pentamerous arrangement of body parts, but the larvae are bilaterally symmetrical. The classes include Asteroidea, Echinoidea, Holothuroidea, Ophiuroidea, Ophicystoidea and Crinoidea. Now dear students, let's move on to the next group of kingdom Animalia, that is Chordata. The name Chordata refers to presence of notochord at some stage of development. Notochord is elastic, solid, skeletal rod lying below the spinal cord and above the alimentary canal. It is made up of large vacuolated cells enclosed in one or two sheets of connective tissue. Notochord is replaced by vertebral column in majority of chordates. Chordata is further divided into hemichordata, urochordata, cephalochordata and vertebrata. Vertebrata, which includes two superclasses, Agnatha, which are jawless vertebrates with class cyclostomes, and Gnathostoma, which are jaw-bearing vertebrates with following classes. Number 1, Chondrichthyes, which includes cartilaginous fishes. Number 2, Osteichthyes, which includes bony fishes. Number 3, Amphibia, which are known for dual life. Number 4, Reptilia, which includes creepers with dry scale cover. Number 5, Aves, which are feathered animals. And lastly, Mammalia, that is milk producing animals. And Mammalia are further divided into two subclasses. One is Prototheria and number 2 is Theria. So that's all with the animal kingdom. Now we shall move on to the fifth kingdom of life, that is kingdom Plantae. The kingdom Plantae are multicellular except a few like Chlamydomonas. They occur in water as well as on land. The general characters are, they are mostly photosynthetic. They are primarily as producers on land. The cell wall contains cellulose. They are non-motile. The higher forms bear flowers, but lower forms even lack stem, root and leaf. A few flowering plants have become partially or completely parasitic in their mode of life. Some plants have become insectivorous to fulfill nitrogen requirement. Some have become symbiotic with nitrogen fixing bacteria, for example legumes. Reproduction is primarily sexual. Haploid generation is progressively reduced in higher members of kingdom. Cell is characterized by large vacuoles, reserve starch and definite plastids. Now the classification of Plantae. Kingdom Plantae has been broadly classified into two groups on the basis of presence and absence of embryo stage. These are algae and embryophytes. The embryo stage is absent in algae and they are further divided into three main classes: Chlorophyceae, Phaeophyceae and Rhodophyceae. The embryo stage is present in embryophytes and they are further divided into Bryophyta and Tracheophyta on the basis of absence and presence of vascular tissue respectively. The division Bryophyta consists of over 25,000 species and includes simple primitive land plants, and the Bryophyta are classified into liverworts, hornworts and mosses. Tracheophyta are further divided into Pteridophyta and Spermatophyta on the basis of absence and presence of seeds respectively. Pteridophyta constitute the largest living group of vascular plants with over 10,000 species. The pteridophytes are further classified into four classes: Coelopsida, Lycopsida, Sphenopsida and Pteropsida. Now Spermatophyta, these are subdivided into gymnosperms and angiosperms on the basis of whether the seeds are naked or covered inside fruit. Gymnosperms are plants in which the ovules are not enclosed by any ovary wall and remain exposed both before and after fertilization. The seeds that develop post-fertilization are not covered. Gymnosperms include medium-sized trees or tall trees and shrubs. These are subdivided into cycads, conifers, ginkgos and nyttales. Angiosperms, on the other hand, are the flowering plants, and the pollen grains and ovules are developed in specialized structures called flowers. In angiosperms, the seeds are enclosed by fruits. The angiosperms are an exceptionally large group of plants occurring in wide range of habitats. They range in size from tiny, almost microscopic Wolffia to tall trees of eucalyptus, which is over 100 meters. And they are divided into two classes, the dicotyledons and the monocotyledons. So that's all with the 5 kingdom classification system. Now dear students, let's move on to the next section of this lecture, that is domains of life. The world of organisms was classified as 5 kingdom system and well accepted by the scientists all over the world till 1977, when Voss and Wolff proved the existence of archaea, a third category of organisms that could live without oxygen besides the 2 accepted categories called eukaryotes and prokaryotes. Thus, the world of organisms got divided into 3 domain system rather than the earlier 5 kingdom system of classification. The world has come to recognize the 3 domain system as the most current and most scientific system of classification of organisms. Though there are some similarities, the kingdom system of classification of organisms has now been relegated to having relatively little significance, and the 3 domain system is the preferred one in all parts of the world. The 3 domain system is based on modern molecular evidence and uses the category domain as a super kingdom to emphasize the extremely ancient lineages that exist among prokaryotes and Protista and the relatively recent relationships of multicellular organisms. By adding domains, we now can show how kingdoms are actually closely related under a specific domain. There are 3 distinct domains in biology. These are the archaea, the bacteria and the eukarya. First, archaea. The first and the oldest known domain is the archaea. These are ancient forms of bacteria that were originally grouped under the kingdom Monera as archaebacteria. We know them to be prokaryotic organisms that are found in all habitats on Earth. They are single-celled microbes that find their origins as the first organisms of life on Earth. Hence, we give them the prefix archaea, which in Greek means ancient things. Archaea organisms are also different from other domains in that many are extremophiles, meaning they can live in intense environments with high temperature, high acid and high salt level. One type of extremophile is the methanogens, or those organisms that produce methane as a product of their metabolism. It includes the following kingdoms: kingdom Crinarchaeota, which are thermophiles, kingdom Eurarchaeota, which are methanogens and halophiles, and kingdom Corarchaeota. Some hot spring microbes are included in this. Next is bacteria. The bacteria domain includes all other bacteria that are not included in the archaea domain. They are prokaryotic and again found in all the habitats on Earth. They are very similar to the archaea domain, except that bacteria gain energy by being either phototrophs, lithotrophs or organotrophs. It includes kingdom Eubacteria, which are true bacteria, and which in turn includes the division Proteobacteria, which are nitrogen fixing bacteria, division Cyanobacteria, which are blue-green bacteria, division Eubacteria, which are true gram-positive bacteria, division Spirochetes, which are spiral bacteria, division Chlamydia, which are intracellular parasites. Next is the kingdom Eukarya. This domain contains all the organisms that are eukaryotic. These would be considered fairly modern since the other domains existed first. Scientists believe that eukarya evolved from the symbiotic relationship exhibited by prokaryotic bacteria that ate other prokaryotic bacteria but did not digest them. We also see here the more complex and larger organisms. It includes kingdom Protista, kingdom Fungi, kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animalia. With this, we come to the end of today's lecture. I hope you understood it well. Thank you.